Here we go! Q&A. Alright, so the way this is going to work is that I will try to not prepare like meticulous responses, and I will try to answer them off the top of my head so that it's more natural, organic. So here we go. Hi Phoenix, I'm an avid fan of your TikTok account and YouTube channel, and very grateful to your services in the front line as a Dany soldier. Keep up with the good work. Thank you. As for the question, for as long as I can remember, even among so-called Dany fans, the idea of Daenerys dying for the greater good, aka ending the others through an act of selfless sacrifice, seems to be widespread and almost taken as a fact by a good chunk of A Song of Ice and Fire readers by the end of the series, at least for the half that don't believe she will turn into an insane genocidal maniac. Personally, I can't see an ending where Dany dies as a satisfying or fulfilling conclusion to the story, even if she comes out as a hero in the end. Why do you think that this role of sacrificial lamb is so prevalent even among her supporters? Sorry for any grammar or spelling mistakes, English is not my first language. I don't see any grammar or spelling mistakes, so you're good. I think that the reason for that is ever since you read the stories and join the fandom, you see these ideas of the Mad Queen, that Dany will just, become the worst criminal in the universe and will be killed to stop her tyranny. And I think that a lot of people try to compromise with this assessment. So the best way to do that is to, turn towards the heroic self-sacrifice, because if you have so many people insist that Dany must die, then you just take this for granted as well. You just start, assuming that this where the story is going to end. So of course you're going to pick the option that has more optics. And I used to be like that too, but at some point I just realized, actually for a long time I was on the Dany accidentally burns King's Landing and redeems herself in the north. But I just thought that no, I don't like that. I don't like any variant of Dany being involved in the burning of King's Landing. And there's actually not as much evidence of that happening as people would have you believe. Thinking about that, yeah, I think this is just, trying to compromise with this idea that Dany has to die. But there is actually a fair share of evidence that Daenerys will live. Both, foreshadowing-wise and, structure of the story-wise, let's call it that. First is the initial outline that, it changed a lot from what we've seen. The initial outline that is floating around the internet with, crazy shit like Caitlyn being killed by the Whites or whatever. But I think that some bits of that outline did make it into the story. And I think that the bit about all members of the Key Five surviving still has merit. So that's one thing that I believe has not changed from the initial outline. I believe that this is very solid evidence towards all the members of the Key Five, that is Bran, Arya, Jon, Tyrion, and Daenerys surviving. Actually, I do also believe that the Dany dying in the end is a very convenient situation for people who don't want her anywhere near, the throne or other rulership positions. Because a lot of the hatred Daenerys receives is precisely from the fact that she stands in the way of preferred endings for other characters. So her dying, either as a Mad Queen or this heroic self-sacrifice, is very convenient, I have to say. Especially when it's given better optics that, we want Dany to be the hero who dies. It's very insidious in a way. So yeah, I am friends with people who do believe she will die. And I spoke to one of them who also shared a perspective that gave me also a perspective that she does not want to believe that Daenerys will live, because in case she dies she will just be too heartbroken. So this is sort of like a sunk cost fallacy or something. But yeah, if you look at the experience she's gaining right now, if you look at various prophecies she receives, I think there's a quite strong possibility that she will survive. I personally subscribe to this theory. I don't think she will end this story in Westeros. I think that her destiny lies more so in Essos, where she will return and establish some new dynasty in Essos. My favorite theory regarding that is that she will re-establish the Great Empire of the Dawn and will just, chill there. So yeah, that's why I believe this is the case. And I also really like this theory that she will die but will be resurrected after 3 days. Because if you think about it, there's quite a lot of messianic, Jesus-like things in her storyline, especially in A Clash of Kings, where she's in Valles Tororo. By the way, Valles Tororo is also serving as a good foreshadowing for Daenerys, ending the story in some rulership position, and surviving, of course. But she is visited by 3 wise people who follow the star to reach her. I'm not saying anything, but, So yeah, this is why I think, psychologically, why so many people, even her fans, believe that she will die. I personally don't, but, I understand why some people do. Would you be interested in a partnership with VS Battles, Vicky? I'm a moderator for the site, which is an index of statistics and powers for characters in popular fiction. We're quite well known among online forums dedicated to this topic, but have barely any recognition outside that, so I'm looking to find avenues to help expand our notability. Sure, why not? I mean, I don't think Google Forms is like a good place to discuss this, but if you're out there watching this and are still interested, then write me an email. If you go to my page and look at the info on my channel, you will get my email address there. So yeah, if you're still interested in that, then we will figure something that will be beneficial to both of us. What is your prediction for every single or most characters in ASOIAF for the upcoming 2 books? Or how you think their ending is going to be? Specifically, Jon, Daenerys and Bran. So all of them, or just Jon, Daenerys and Bran? Alright, I will try to think of as many as I can. So for Daenerys, let's start with Daenerys. I'm of the opinion that the theory is that she will just speedrun her arc in Essos is solely there just to, teleport her to King's Landing so that she's the one to burn it. I think that Daenerys is not going anywhere outside of Essos in the Winds of Winter. I think that there's too much foreshadowing for her to go to Volantis, and perhaps to Pentos as well. So I think that all of the Winds of Winter will be her ending slavery with fire and blood. That's my prediction for Daenerys in the Winds of Winter. And I firmly believe that the last chapter of the Winds of Winter is going to be Daenerys sailing to Westeros. You guys know that I dislike making theories based on the show. However, I don't think it's a coincidence that, the last episode of season 6 was titled The Winds of Winter, and the track that accompanied Daenerys sailing to Westeros was also The Winds of Winter. So I think that there's so many coincidences here. I think that Daenerys sailing to Westeros by the end of The Winds of Winter, this is strong evidence, actually, towards that possibility, because, let's be honest, this is just a bit too specific. And yeah, I know people will throw up when it's not going to be her that burns King's Landing. Which we will get to. We will talk about Jon, Con and Cersei. But yeah, as for the Dream of Spring, I am not sure how is she going to get involved in the fight against the others. I don't think it's going to be like in the show. Because, in the books, there's a quite big possibility that she's going to meet with the Red Priests and learn of the Azor Ahai mythos, how she fulfilled that prophecy. And she may learn of all of this bullshit from them, actually. So yeah, I do see her. She, of course, has to take part in the fight. There's no other way about it. Sorry for all the people who said that dragons are nukes who have to be killed. But no, she is definitely using dragons in this endeavor. And I think that the theory that makes the most sense is the 3 heads of the dragon, which, as of now, I am unsure whether who is this going to be, who is going to ride the other 2 dragons, and if there will be 3 dragons doing that. Because, this bullshit with Victarion and Euron. The stallion who mounts the word prophecy says that the Kalasar that will follow the stallion will ride to the ends of earth. And when is the ends of earth? In the heart of winter, I see the Dothraki and Daenerys and the dragons and perhaps other people going to the heart of winter and destroying the heart of winter, which will end the threat for good. So that's my prediction for Daenerys. For Jon, he is obviously getting resurrected, like, this is a no-brainer, but I think the resurrection will have a profound effect on him. I am not sure about this, Jon the Night King. I don't know how this would work logistically, who would be his Night Queen. No idea about that. And my theory for what he's going to do, when he died, he had this very strong conviction in saving Arya. And I think that he will be like fixated on going to Winterfell and reclaiming Winterfell from the Boltons. And of course, like, because he died, he was technically released from his vows. So yeah, that will also play a part. I see Jon just no longer caring about the threat beyond the wall. I see him like going, I don't give a damn, I was fucking killed, and now I'm going to just, fuck duty, I'm doing what I always fucking wanted. And I personally believe that he will choose to be legitimized as a Stark. And after he's already legitimized as a Stark, he is going to learn of his parentage. So whether he will claim one of the dragons, Rhaegal most likely, probably. Though I've been having second thoughts about that also recently a bit. But yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. Funnily enough, I think that if someone from the Key 5 is going to die, it's going to be him. Not just because, I'm known for not being his fan, but like, I don't know, just off of vibes alone. And I have no idea. Like, I think he will follow Daenerys and the rest to the ends of Earth, to the Heart of Winter. But, we will see. For Bran's story has a lot of parallels with the last hero, who was seeking out the children, but I am not sure if the situation that we saw in the show when he became this emotionless robot is what is going to happen in the books. If it does, then it will be very disappointing. I dislike the theories of, Bran is going to be evil, because have you guys noticed that everyone from the Key 5 is considered to be a villain or a villain in the making? Aside from Jon. If you're a woman, if you're disabled, you're predestined to be evil. But yeah, I've seen this theory. I haven't read Dune yet. I'm planning to. I started, but it was too fucking confusing for me and I stopped. But I will definitely resume reading. That there was this guy, King Leto II Atreides, and he was like having this all-knowing brain or something. And if Bran is going to be the king of Westeros, which is something that did come from George, then he will be precisely the all-knowing king. So that's the theory that I think makes the most sense for Bran. As for the rest of the characters that are not mentioned here, Cersei and Jon Con are nuking King's Landing 100%. I don't know which one of them will do this, but something that I have noticed after I already made the video is that Jon Con is narratively compared to Tywin Lannister, and Cersei is compared to Aerys. Like, there's this scene in A Dance with Dragons where Tyrion is on the board of Shy Maid, when Jon Con is like giving him an order, and he almost says, "Yes, father." So yeah, whoever believes that it will not be Jon Con or Cersei is just copying, sorry. Arya, sorry, but this is the case again, like, she's a member of the Key 5 and, she will be someone's guard dog, or she will leave Westeros and sail and be alone, or I don't know. She will die and live on in Nymeria, and I hate all of these theories. Arya is actually foreshadowed to be politically important and have a leadership role, which she already had when she staged a fucking coup in Harrenhal and was responsible for, like, Hot Pie and Gendry. She was their leader when they were escaping. And there's this scene in A Storm of Swords where this guy, whose name I keep forgetting, kneels to her in the same spot where Torrhen Stark knelt for Aegon the Conqueror. That's foreshadowing, babes. So yeah, I don't know if she is going to be like Queen in the North or something, but she's definitely having some leadership arc. And I don't see her staying with the Faceless Man and becoming this mindless assassin who, is obsessed with revenge, because this is not what Arya is, okay? I will expand on that when I do the book Arya video that I've been planning for a while. So yeah, definitely there are more people that I could speak of, but I already dedicated a lot of time to this question, so in case you want like a video, the Winds of Winter predictions, I can do that. Just let me know. But I am not that confident in my predictions. It will be very dumb if I just make some bold assumptions and then winds come out and boom, it was all wrong. Alright, let's keep going. I've always wondered, and I hope it's not too weird of a question, but how old are you? So, as of now, 25. My birthday is March 1st. I was born in 1999, so for posterity, you can just count how old I am in case you're like watching this video 10 years into the future. Apart from Dany, what other POV characters you like? See, it's hard for me to say because I do like a lot of characters, I do like a lot of POVs, but there are like POVs from certain books that I like, but I dislike in other books. For example, Tyrion, A Clash of Kings and A Storm of Swords are amazing, great. Like, you can tell that he's George's favorite because the quality he puts there, like the political intrigue, mwah. I would say that overall, at this point, my second favorite POV is Cersei. And she would be my second favorite character overall. But I have a strong feeling that, as I will be doing my reread, Arya might take this spot. Also, I did not like Theon, A Clash of Kings. I mean, it's not that I disliked reading it. It's just that he's so fucking annoying there. But Dance with Dragons, amazing. One of the best pieces of writing that George has ever put on this fucking earth. I love it. What do you think the fates of Rhaegal and Viserion are gonna be? I don't know. I have no idea. I was trying to untangle all of it, like this whole dragon binder bullshit and who may or may not take the dragons, but no idea. Sorry guys. I hope they all live, but yeah, we know how George is with that. What are your biggest ASOIAF pet peeves? Can be in universe, to do with the material, or with the fandom itself. Do you want this video to be 3 hours long? Yeah, okay, I will try to figure out like one biggest one. I think that one that encapsulates a lot of broader problems in the fandom is the misuse of quotes. To argue points that these quotes are not making and, you know, overall, things like that. Every time a Targaryen is born, gods toss a coin, which means that half of the Targaryens were mad and half were not. Even if you assume that Targaryens were more mentally ill than other families, that's still not true. And as Company of the Cat made an excellent video on this issue, that Targaryen madness is not like genetic or because of incest, but because of dragon dreams that were driving people mad. And you can also notice that most of the mad Targaryens were men. Do with that as you want. Another quote that pisses me off is like the show-only quote of Ramsay, like, telling Theon that if you think this is a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention. Girl, context matters. Why he's saying that? This is not like the comment on how A Song of Ice and Fire is going to end, because George said bittersweet ending. So there will be shades of happy there. And funnily enough, this bittersweet ending is like everyone surviving and getting everything they want, but Daenerys, who is that? So yeah, probably there are a lot of more examples of the quote misuse, but I think it speaks a lot to like the general laziness that I see with, you know, how people prefer to formulate their opinions not based on what is in the text or through like, you know, healthy discussions, but on what they are told to think, you know, by Reddit theories or YouTube videos. So yeah, a lot of these quotes are used in this context. As I said, this is emblematic of like wider issues that, you know, I spoke of a lot on this channel and on my TikTok especially. So I think this is like the biggest pet peeve that I have. Forgive me if you've mentioned this before, but do you have other favorite series outside of ASOIAF? Movies, TV, books, games, whatever. See, the problem is that I have probably undiagnosed ADHD, which causes me to have troubles focusing on shit. Like, I am jumping in the air right now because I managed to finally return to the levels of reading that I was doing when I was younger, which is like several books a month, which is, you know, incredible that I can do that again. So off the top of my head, maybe let's start with movies. My favorite movie ever is Fury Road. which I saw with my dad when I was like 16. And I remember seeing online that, people were calling this film feminist propaganda. I was like baby feminist, reading all of these posts on Tumblr, and I tell my dad, we have to go and see the new Mad Max. And he was like, my 16-year-old daughter wants to watch Mad Max. He was a big fan of the previous installment, and we had a blast in the cinema. It was, my mom and my sister went to see like some cartoon or something, and after the movie was over, we like ranting about how great it was while they were just, watching some stupid fucking movie for kids. And we were like ranting about this movie the entire way home. It's definitely my favorite movie, and I'm so excited for the prequel, like you guys have no idea, especially because Anya Taylor-Joy is one of my favorite actresses. A movie that I watched and rewatched a lot is the first Knives Out. I liked the Glass Onion a lot, but, the vibe of this house and the mystery within that house, it was just, unmatched. And it was really funny. I remember, like, this was the last movie I saw in the cinema before COVID. So yeah, I also have fond memories of that. Books, I'm gonna get cancelled. But one of my favorite books ever, that I've only read once, is Lolita by Nabokov. Yes, really. Not even because of the plot, because I'm not a freak, but the style. As a writer, this is something I appreciate so deeply. Like, the way this book is written is just mind-blowing. Incredible. And that's why it's one of my favorite books. And I was also reading other Nabokov novels, but this one stood out to me the most. I will not be cancelled by the woke mob because I know that this book is a condemnation. Humbert is the greatest unreliable narrator in all of fucking fiction. That's all I'm about to say. TV series, Breaking Bad. I remember watching Breaking Bad in 2019 when I was going to university, and I had this friend who was telling me, watch Breaking Bad, please, please, please watch it. And I started, and I remember going home back from university. First thing I was doing was launching Netflix and watching it. I fucking loved it. Great television. I'm watching Better Call Saul now. And, with my troubles concentrating, it's been taking months. But it's really good as well. The series that I loved was The Queen's Gambit, which got me into chess, and I'm still very bad at it, but it was also amazing. I was somewhat into anime when I was younger, but I gave up. My first ever anime was Naruto. Which was funny because it was playing on the kids' channel in Poland with this atrocious fucking dubbing. Like, listen to this.
Ja będę potężniejszy od nich wszystkich. Ja, Naruto, następny Hokage, legendarny ninja. Nikt nie będzie się ze mnie śmiać, wszyscy będą mnie podziwiać. Kumalski?
So yeah, games, Minecraft, and The Sims, especially Sims 2, which I've been playing for years. Honest opinion, what went through your mind when you saw my Daenerys is an alien video? For some reason, I imagine you being like, who is this loser? So for some context, Zorg the Dark One, which is the author of this comment, made like a video where he argues that Daenerys is an alien and tagged me, and honestly I found that funny. And what I also found out was that it was quite well reasoned. Like, obviously I did not believe you because Daenerys is not an alien, but it started from solid assumptions and gave like convincing reasoning. Yeah, that's what I thought. I never thought you were an idiot. I'm not like that, contrary to a popular belief. What made you decide to start doing YouTube? That's actually funny because when I was doing the season 8 video, the one that I posted in January, I found like old drafts of scripts for that video I did in 2021. Because I had this idea to start doing these videos because I had some experience in film editing. So I figured out that it should not be too much of a problem to start. And I wanted this to be my first video, but there was always something stunning anyway. Like, obviously I was inspired by the era of video essays that was like blooming around the end of season 8, which was 2019, I think. So yeah, that's why I got inspired, but to actually start doing it it did take me some consistency and like actually deciding to write a script and having a schedule that, you know, I have at the back of my head, oh, I need to write script for a new video. So now I have consistency mastered. So I just wanted to be one of the cool guys who are doing video essays. What do you do for a living, like work or school-wise? Nobody's gonna believe me. Alright. I was already in a MA program for my studies. And as I was going to my university, on my way there was this big pink poster saying, "We are searching for models. If you are above this and that height or something, then come here and there." So I was like, I am above this height. Interesting. So I went there expecting nothing. They, you know, took a bunch of pics of me, asked me about, you know, what I do, what are my interests. And then they said, okay, in case we are interested, we will let you know. So I was like, they're definitely not going to do that. Because why would they? Yeah, 4 days later, they reached out and said, hey, we are actually interested in working with you. So yeah, that's how it was. Nobody's gonna believe me, but okay. Do you like horror movies? If so, what kind? Not necessarily. Not that I hate them, but I have never really watched like classic horror movies because I was simply not too interested in them. I do like some psychological horror. Midsommar is actually one of my favorite movies. And I also like the newest Ari Aster movie. I was in the cinema. It was hilarious. And yeah, that's about it when it comes to horror movies for me. What is your country of birth and native language? Ja. Teraz powiem wam coś po polsku, żebyście mogli usłyszeć, jak ten język brzmi, bo nie wiem, czy mieliście dużą styczność z tym językiem. Powiedziano mi, że polski brzmi dla obcokrajowców jak weselszy rosyjski, ale moim zdaniem te języki w ogóle nie są do siebie podobne. Ukraiński i polski podobno są ze sobą bardziej związane niż na przykład ukraiński i rosyjski. Co jest dziwne, biorąc pod uwagę, że ukraiński jest językiem wschodniosłowiańskim, a polski jest językiem zachodniosłowiańskim. Pomimo tych wszystkich żartów na temat tego, jak głupi i dziwny jest ten język, to uważam, że jest dużo bardziej ekspresyjny niż angielski. Jest mnóstwo określeń, które nie mają takiego dobrego tłumaczenia na angielski, ale vice versa też to działa. Ale ogólnie rzecz biorąc, moja osobista opinia jako osoba, która mówi zarówno po angielsku, jak i polsku, to sądzę, że polski jest bardziej ekspresyjny. No ale niestety, gdybym miała kanał po polsku, nie miałabym aż tak dużej widowni, ponieważ miałabym wtedy tylko Polaków w widowni, a tak to mam w zasadzie cały świat. Tak działa globalizacja. Have you read The Witcher books? If so, what do you think of them and how do you think they compare to A Song of Ice and Fire? I'm going to have my citizenship revoked. I didn't. I started. I decided to read them like chronologically how the events are happening. So, because the Witcher books were not released chronologically, like the timeline was jumping all over the place. And I have now reached the first book chronologically, and then I stopped and started reading something else. But I plan to finish reading it. When is that going to happen? I don't know, considering that I have millions of other stuff I need to read. So, based on that, I cannot really make an educated judgment on how they compare to one another. And that's about it. What are your non-ASOIAF hobbies? I have a lot of hobbies, but the problem is that I often pick them up and then grow bored of them after a while. The thing that has been like a constant in my life has been writing. I remember being like 6 years old or something, and I had this notebook and I wrote a story in it that, you know, I entered the room and there was a notebook there And there was a beginning of the story there, and it was up to me to finish that story. That was like the first thing that I wrote. I was lucky to be encouraged, by my family, by my teachers, to be a writer. Like, I remember being in middle school, and we had a school newspaper, and my Polish teacher, she was borderline harassing me to write articles for that fuck-ass school newspaper. So yeah, I also come from something that you would call an artisan family, so it was never a problem that this was like my main hobby. But funnily enough, I was enrolling into various competitions on writing, but never won anything. I don't know why, but I did have a book deal. But that's like a whole story about it, how that fell apart. It was insane. If I told you guys this entire story, you would not believe me at the bullshit that was happening at that publishing house. I am not prevented from speaking about it. I did not sign an NDA or anything, but so at the end I figured out that if I have to compromise my values to be published, then fuck you. I will find someone else. It's a good fucking story. It's funny because I don't necessarily like fantasy. I mean, of course, I am a Song of Ice and Fire YouTuber, but A Song of Ice and Fire is actually an exception for me in that I got interested in more traditional fantasy. The kind of fantasy that interested me was always something that is not typically fantastical in that traditional sense. So yeah, my biggest project, not the one that was about to get published, is a fantasy project. The thing I was about to publish was a slice of life coming of age sort of story. And now my main focus is sci-fi, but it's a low sci-fi kind of story. There's no spaceship, just a world in the future, a very near future, and yeah, this is what I'm working on. So I would say this is my biggest hobby, like the biggest constant in my life among all those different things that I've been trying. I am interested in poetry, mostly American poetry, like Walt Whitman, of course, wow, my beloved. But when I was studying university, I was actually torn whether I want to major in American Lit or linguistics, and by the end of it, I chose linguistics, and it was a good decision. My main area of interest was translation. This is what my BA was about. I would not say this is my hobby, but like my academic pursuit of some sort. So yeah, I would say these are my main hobbies overall. What is your favorite book, quote, passage, and why? In addition, what is your favorite ASOIAF quote? A question that I will not be able to answer because there's too many and I cannot pick just one, but I decided that instead I will respond with my favorite poem passage, which is: Listener up there, what have you to confide to me? Look in my face while I snuff the saddle of everything. Talk honesty. No one else hears you, and I stay only a minute longer. Do I contradict myself? Very well then, I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes. From A Song of Ice and Fire, it was this calamity that transforms our people into slavers. And I am the calamity that will change these slavers back into people, is probably my favorite passage in A Song of Ice and Fire. Let's say it counts as my favorite book passage overall as well. And it's so underrated. Dany chapters have so many banger quotes, but this one is really underrated. Are you going to denounce the name John like a good person? I officially denounce the name John. Alright, so that will be it. These are all the questions that have been sent to me. Thank you very much for everyone who contributed. Once more, thank you for sticking up with me. And I hope we have much more time together. This milestone is really important to me, and I feel like it's all going easier and better from now. Thank you once more.